From the thong-wearing beaches of Miami, Florida, to the flannel-wearing ski bunnies of Whistler, BC, this is the Qualk Show with your host, Carol Rosher.
Good evening and happy Saturday night. On tonight's show, we're going to be talking about, I want to talk to somebody. I need to pick a beef with somebody. Yeah, I need some therapy from somebody who gets me.
Oh, girl.
Oh, I need to know where to turn to. Should we go together or solo? Yeah, lift these burdens from me. As usual, we'll end with a funny. Let's meet tonight's panel. We have Sin.
Hey.
Sin is the mom to 2 teenagers. You can send her your sympathy letters later. Hallie is a surrogate as well as mommy to a 6-year-old beautiful girl. Next we have Heidi. She's lucky enough to have a 2-year-old as well as a grown stepson. Then we have Stephanie, who has a 6-month-old as well as a 4-year-old, so she's busy as hell. And I am your host, Carol Rosher, new mama to, it keeps going further, a 4.5-month-old baby girl at this point. Before we start the show tonight, I just wanted to bid adieu to a former cast member. Summer has decided to leave the show and pursue other endeavors, and I just wanted to personally thank her for everything that she brought to the startup of the Qualk Show. And I know that myself and the rest of the cast want to wish you the very best, Summer, in all that you pursue in life. So thank you very much for everything that you've done. Let's get rolling with hot flashes. Rosie O'Donnell states, I don't think America knows what a gay parent looks like. I am a gay parent. My question to the panel is, what does a gay parent look like? And how do we continue to further educate people on this topic while we assimilate into, quote unquote, regular society? Who wants to kick me off tonight?
We're happy. We're the happy ones.
First off, I want to kick off.
The chances of accidental pregnancies are significantly slimmer. So a lot of our, I think a lot, there's some people that have kids from previous relationships, but a lot of families that are non-heterosexual, their kids are very, very planned and often very, very expensive in coming about to get them and whatnot. So I think we're happier. I think we're the happy ones.
It's in our name. We have to be. Hallie, what were you saying?
Go ahead.
I was just saying, we definitely want to hear from everybody, so we're actually going to have a live chat. The chat feature isn't working right now on this video, so if you have the video brought up on one forum of something, go ahead and use another forum to chat with us in our Facebook group. I have a live feed just started right now, so we're going to talk there. Back to you, Heidi.
I'm so sorry about that, Hallie. I think that especially some of the more modern gay families, we've gone through the process of fertility and counseling and all the hoops and all the forms in order to be able to finally become parents, as opposed to, some of the more heterosexually relationships out there. So
yeah, the question was, what do gay parents look like? And that's kind of funny because, I might look like a gay parent. But not every gay parent I know looks gay. I mean, not everybody who's gay looks gay. I mean, men who are homosexual and women who are homosexual or bi or queer or whatever, they don't always look like something, your gaydar doesn't always work, right? Some people just don't look like a stereotypical, what does that even mean, looking gay, right?
I always tell people my uniform's on back order.
Right?
Stephanie, what do you think? You look like you might fit in a little bit more and maybe not have to announce to the world that you like the women, but is that what
I like everybody.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You do.
I would say that a gay family, in my mind, would be 2 men. You know, I would say a lesbian family would be 2 women. I would say a transgender family would be someone with is transgender. I still associate the word gay as a masculine, form because I'm in the community, and so if someone says, "What does a gay family look like?" That's the first thing I think of is like my gay brothers. I don't really necessarily I wouldn't look at myself and go, "Oh yeah, I guess I am a gay family." So I don't know. I tend to be a little bit more femmy as a sort of a slang term within our community, but at the same time, I can be a little bit more masculine. So I don't know. If someone said this to me, I would definitely think of something sarcastic and funny to say. I wouldn't even know how to answer because I think it's just such a ridiculous thing to say.
Yeah.
You know?
Someone call Neil Patrick Harris.
I know. Well, that's crooked too. So I don't know.
No, I mean, and I think that's kind of the whole point of what Rosie O'Donnell was getting at with this statement is it's such a ridiculous statement. What does a gay parent look like? We are all gay parents. Yeah. There's a million trillion other gay parents, and I guarantee that not 2 of us look exactly alike.
Oh, I do look like Rosie. I've gotten that a couple times. Shout out to Rosie O'Donnell. Oh, our little buddy is frozen in time.
Oh!
I think that's Rosie's way of reaching out. Yeah, girl.
Thank you, Rosie. That was cool, yeah.
I don't know, does anybody else have anything else to comment about that?
I mean, I would definitely agree with you, Heidi, that we, as far as a family unit with children, look like, or spend so much money and so much time and so much energy, and it's generally not just one oopsie tequila night to get a child. Yeah. So we definitely, I do believe we spend a lot more time in pre-plan and thought and childcare and daycare and homeschool and private school and all of those little things. I definitely think that we do think about that a lot, but I also think that most people don't realize it's a gay family until you see the 2 moms or you see the 2 dads. Yeah, and if it's a transgender couple, honestly, you probably wouldn't know, depending on their relationship. So if it's just a mom or it's just a dad, they're probably not going to realize until they see that opposite parent. They're like, oh, wait.
Well, I mean, queer families come in all shapes and sizes, and some people who are trans, may not pass to the rest of society, but they still are just as male or female as they say they are. But, I mean, a queer family is basically any number of parents, 1, 2, or more if you have, either a poly relationship or, exes and things, and some form of children, some people even consider their fur babies or their pets kids, right? So, I mean, a queer family is people who decided to live together as a family, and really it can look like anything.
I think Donald Trump looks like a queer family, I'm just saying. I mean, that's a lot of lies, bro. That's a lot of lies. You got that fur baby up here.
His fur baby is on top.
Fur baby on top.
Into polyamory there at some point, although I believe he did, well, we'll never know, but I believe he ended with one before he started with the next.
Probably.
Yeah.
Welcome back,
not. Probably not. I don't know. I apologize for any technical difficulties that I'm experiencing tonight. I'm the oldest on the panel. That's my only excuse. I don't really know what to tell you. Yeah.
Need your geek squad.
What's
exactly, I do. I've invested so much in getting this going, and I'm not quite sure what the issue is, but I know that everybody will pick up for me as we go along. So Jodie Foster says that love and respect are the most important aspects of parenting as well as all relationships. Do you guys agree with that?
Yes, but I want to add consent to that, also with parenting and with relationships. I think super important. I don't think we teach that enough, that people need to know that it's okay to say no sometimes. Even kids need to know it's okay to say no sometimes.
Oh, for sure.
And I think that it's important for people to teach consent from an early age. I mean, so many times, people tell their kids, you have to hug grandpa, and you have to hug grandma, and you have to kiss. No, you don't have to hug or kiss anybody. That's your body. That's your body. You can do what you want with your body. So I think love and respect, I think that goes with respect, but even more so. I think you need to respect a child's bodily autonomy and ability to make decisions. Obviously, you have to keep them safe, and you have to make them do some things. You have to make them eat. You have to make them brush their teeth. You have to make them sleep a little bit. But, you don't have to make them be affectionate.
I completely agree, Sin. And one of the ones that I thought was left out from here, especially when it comes to relationships, is trust. for me, if you don't have trust, you don't have anything. It's the game is over. You know, even when I look at myself, I don't particularly like who I am in a relationship once the trust is gone. And so that's a lesson that I've learned the hard way over 20 years of dating, which is if the trust is gone, call it quits. It's not even worth saving anymore because, so that is the biggest one for me probably is trust.
So love, respect, trust, consent. What else?
And I would add communication. I think communication is extremely important, even with your 2-year-old. I was a big proponent of. I took the Love and Logic parenting classes, and I absolutely loved it. And it was all about having those conversations and really getting down. And my daughter was never the type of child that wanted to hear, just do it. She's like, why? And you have to tell her why, and then she'll do it. And it works perfectly. But other people come along, they're like, Casey, just go do this. And she's like, why? And they're like, what the hell, child? Just listen. And she's like, no. And I'm like, ooh. So.
Well, you're teaching her the right tools there, I think, Heidi.
Yes.
Or Hallie, sorry. I'm calling you a completely different person, not just mispronouncing your name.
I think another important thing is really, like, in terms of a relationship, you have to come to a point where you just commit that you're gonna do this together. That no matter what, there's going to be great times, there's going to be times when you may not necessarily like the other person, you'll go through hills and valleys, but you commit that you will see it through to the other side. Mm-hmm. Because I think when these tensions and whatnot is what actually establishes itself as a deeper form of intimacy, and I think that is what really kind of is a foundation for some real long-term, beautiful relationships.
Well, that's like the love as a verb thing, right? Love isn't just a wishy-washy feeling; it's a thing you do. I love I love my wife, and so even when I'm angry with her, or even when I'm hurt by her, we still love, right? We still make sure we do that action. So.
David Letterman, way back in the day, had a couple on his show. They were celebrating their 60th wedding anniversary. It might have even been 70th. And he asked what is it that is your secret? And the husband says, we never fell out of love at the same time. And that's always carried with me. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's important.
We just had a really good comment on our Facebook page. We have a live conversation starting right now.
Yay!
I'm going to Oh my God! We have a person.
Is there anybody in there?
There's one. Chanel Boone. Yep, calling you out right now.
Chanel.
There you go.
She was from the first episode.
Yay, Chanel! Chanel says you have to be willing to compromise. That is also a huge one.
Yeah, sure. Gigantic.
I hate compromise.
You need to check your ego at the door. You know, even myself, I don't know if I'm PMSing or what the problem is right now, but, you know, I've been having a few little tiffs here and there with my partner, mostly my fault. And so, you know, today, you have that moment where you can just go with it all day and you can just, like, ruin the entire day, or you can suck up your pride and be like, you know what, sorry, I'm being a bit of a douche. I'll do better tomorrow. I'll do better later, and, you know, I love you, and, you know, so I think that goes along, checking your ego at the door. Compromise is the biggest thing. You can't have two winners, and, you know, I have a I have a thing on this on my comedy channel, which is, you know, whoever says being gay as a choice has never PMS'd with a woman at the same time in a house at any, and so, especially when you have two women, usually a man will back down at some point in the fight because he's just not interested in continuing it any further. He'd rather be drinking a beer on the porch or working on his car. But when you're with the two women, no one is ever backing down. No one will ever back down. So
I don't know. Karen
comes in.
And we both remember everything.
I tend to back down. I tend to back down because a long time ago a friend of mine said to me, is it more important to be right or to be happy? Yeah. And I realized that for me, I don't really care if I'm proving my point and I'm right. but she does. So I just let her be right, and we're good.
She does care. Yeah.
I'm staying very quiet because my wife's watching.
Yeah.
Love you, honey.
He's the only one staying married after the show today, folks.
If it's an unwinnable argument and we know it's just a hormone thing and we're at each other's throats, I think sometimes I back down because I realize that she's really not that upset and it'll be okay. And so I back down for the sake of keeping the peace a lot.
For sure.
Not always.
And I mean, and that to me, isn't a weakness. It's a strength. And you got to make sure that you're not the one that's always backing down. But for sure, I agree with our viewer, and compromise is right up there with the big 5 on making your relationship work, hopefully long term. Mm-hmm. Wanda Sykes got her point across in her usual funny way. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Wanda Sykes, but she's a funny lady. Mm-hmm. She says, overall, the LGBT community, this was an older clip, so she didn't add on the QPI, LMNOP stuff yet. We're the same. We are like everybody else, except we're better looking and more stylish.
And we have better lighting in our houses.
Are we the same as everybody else, or are we better?
I'm taking this one. We are the same, because I wouldn't even remember I was gay until a straight person reminded me. Right. I literally live my life as, I hate the word normal, but because I can't figure out what else to call it, but I live my life for me, and it is abundantly clear when you click on a Facebook feed or you watch the news and like it's a hot topic right now, like gays, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot, because I was so busy just complaining about the bread. Like I just didn't even stop to remember that I was considered an alternative lifestyle. And sure. I even have an issue too with the whole LGBTQRSTUV thing, because it literally segregates just the straight population, and we're doing to them what they're doing to us. So I'm like kind of figuring out, within this community, how to bridge the gap of that. And actually earlier this week too, Carol, Sin, Haley, as well as Carol's awesome girl Nicole, we launched this sort of private group called Queer Families and Allies, and we did that with the intention of this, because we started the Qualk Show to try to say, hey, like, why are we segregated?
No more segregation.
Because how are we ever going to be normal if we keep saying we're not normal? Why do we keep believing all this crap and agenda that's put forth to cause drama, when in reality we're just like everybody else? We're like every other straight person that wants to say something against us.
Yeah. So we are everybody else. Like our wives are commenting on the Facebook feed. That's one for you, Stephanie.
I'm sure they are.
But it's just that, like, it's
Chanel made a good point though. Chanel made a good point. Chanel said we are equal, but I don't like the wording that we're the same, because none of us are the same. We're all very different, but all straight families are different too, aren't they, Chanel?
Fair enough.
So that's what makes us so awesome, though. We're all very different from each other. I mean,
there's no such thing as straight family anymore.
They exist, but I think that the funny thing is that you're right.
Have you ever played Is This a Christian or a Lesbian? That shit's the same.
Oh my gosh, I play that all the time.
My wife and I just played it at Target an hour ago. She was Christian, but she sure as hell looked like a lesbian.
I used to be one of those women at church with.
That's why I'm saying that.
Yeah, I used to be one of those women at church with my husband at tow. But here's the thing: there are Christians who are lesbian, and there are lesbians who are Christian. There are LGBT people who are Christian, and they are happy. And there are churches who accept them and love them, and that's a cool thing.
That is.
Sure. And we're definitely going to cover that topic on a future show. Not only the Christian aspect of can you be a Christian and be gay or be queer, but also tackling some of the coming out stories of people that, in addition to everything else that's stacked against us in that coming out story, but there's also religion on top of that. It can complicate things a lot. I personally believe that we are all exactly the same. We all have the same parts. We all, pay our bills and take care of our kids and all that kind of stuff. I at the risk of throwing it back to Carol's Comedy Hour once again.
Nice plug, Carol.
Shameless plug.
I do have a skit talking about, I believe, however, that God's gift to us gays is that we do look a little bit younger. We tend to look a little bit younger. We tend to look a little bit younger, a little bit longer, and I think that's God's way of saying, you know, you're going to have to deal with stereotypes, you're going to have to deal with exclusion, you're going to have a struggle coming out and everything, but you know what? You're going to look good while you do it.
That's it. We're all having kids now. We're all going to get ugly.
I have to say, I think there is something fundamentally different about the gay community that I think that is something that I really think is really cool about us. We have a very rich cultural history because of political climates and things of the sort of the past. And I think this is something that may not be as even as recognized or explored maybe in people born after, like, and I don't want to segregate or whatever, but maybe people born after 1980 may not have as much access to this kind of stuff. When I first came out, I had the opportunity to go to a counselor to just kind of talk about it. One of the things she said is you need to understand the culture where you're coming from, and she recommended an amazing book. And there's lots of good books out there, but this one in particular was so awesome. Can you see this? Odd Girls and Twilight Lovers. Odd Girls, Twilight Lovers by Lillian Faderman.
Do I have to be alone when I read that book, or is it?
No. It's rated like, I think, PG-13 at best. You're all good. So, but it really talks about the history and the culture of what it was like to be a lesbian. That I think is really, really great cultural knowledge for us to have.
Yeah. No, I agree, and you know, I understand the need for every person to feel validated with the LGBTQPI. I believe A stands for double things too, so A to the power of 2, perhaps. But you know, I do think that it's beginning to segregate us a little bit more from everybody else when we all have to have a title. I want the day where we're all just people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it hasn't come yet, though. I mean, while we're still fighting laws about who can go to the bathroom where,
100%.
Can't say that we're all just people.
We're working on it, though.
Working on it.
Subscribing.
Yeah.
Don't start it.
Yeah,
North Carolina,
exactly.
stop it.
Exactly.
As long as one group has power over another group, the group that has little power can't really oppress the group that has lots of power. So we're not oppressing straight people by being
100%. 100%. You're so right. You're so right, Sin. You know, part of the questions that we were going through in Hot Flashes today was basically just kind of like a deeper, even though we're having a lot of fun with it, it's a little bit of deeper questions, poking fun a little bit at it, but the underlying tone is these real huge questions societally, not only for us, but all of society. And that brings us to what we're talking about today, and we're talking all things therapy today. This was the most asked question by you, our fans, and we like to give the fans what they want. So we're going to be talking a little bit today about the best places to find LGBTQP A to the power of 2 I therapist, as well as you know, different questions. Is there funding available for people that are in an economic situation that is not you know, doesn't lend itself to paying huge therapist fees, as well as, you know, questions like, if you're going to couples counseling, should you be seeing the same counselor, or should you be going to separate counselors and bringing that information together? Let's start off with our very own therapist on the panel. Heidi, what do you have for us?
What I want to talk about today primarily is, I mean, I could go on forever about this, as you may have noticed, but the kind of like 5 W's, all right? We're going to go who, what, where, when, why of counseling. Who should go? You should go. You and your partner should go. If everyone around you needs therapy except you, it's chances are you're the one that needs therapy. What is therapy? therapy is interactive. It's you and at least one counselor or one counseling group. You're going to have to do more than just show up. You're going to actually have to be a participatory member of this. People go to therapy to understand, to cope, to change, to alleviate distress, to prepare for major life events. Where can you go? You can go to an office. You can Skype online. That's a whole new budding process now that's really going out there. Something we're looking at maybe in the future is looking at some mentorship here through the Qualk that we're really excited about.
I just want to stop you for 1 second, Heidi, and say that I think you've just burst my bubble a little bit. I was actually prepared to pay the $150 an hour just to lie on the couch and get a break from the family life. So,
yeah, exactly. And now, $150, I'll pay $150 to nap.
I mean, a therapist gives you. A therapist isn't going to fix your problems. A therapist helps you access the tools you need to fix your problems. A therapist helps you fix your own problems. They don't fix it for you. You can't go to therapy and they don't fix you. You fix you.
Yeah. And the therapist will also not fix your wife.
No.
Right. So.
But you have to be
bullshit, and it's not worth my $150.
I think we all can agree to that.
Yes.
What is it? What did you say?
You have to be ready to receive the information. I mean, there's a point in your life where you stop blaming and you can personally internalize the moment where you go, okay, maybe it's actually me. That's the moment you jump on something like that, I think. Because, having gone in the past myself, I was ready to receive the information. I felt misalignment within my life. And so that's why it was successful. And there were sections where I went, this isn't me. It's them. But I also had to learn how to deal with the tools on how not to enable and all those beautiful things. And I practiced those tools every day because I was ready to receive them and put them into action. So, I think that when you find it and you click with someone and you feel comfortable just dumping all your crap and leaving and not telling all your friends and dwindling down your friend pool, it can be really good.
Yeah. And therapy doesn't have to happen in an office or a Skype. Therapy can also happen in retreats, in treatment centers. It doesn't have to be once every week, once every 2 weeks, twice a week, that sort of stuff. It doesn't have to be only when you're in complete distress. It can, though it's very helpful when you're in emotional distress. It can be before there are issues. There can be after there are issues. There's actually, this is proven, people that go through some kind of premarital counseling program of some sort tends to have a more fulfilling and longer-term relationship, a married relationship. That's not all the time. You can come up on Facebook with all the exceptions to the rules, but this is actually documented. That's oftentimes why clergy that are marrying people would prefer if you attend a premarital counseling program. Why would people go to therapy? Because everyone has issues. Absolutely, everyone. Even you have issues. Everyone has issues. So again, go to counseling, people. It'll help you. If you participate, it'll change your life, man.
Wait, I have a question, Heidi.
Yeah.
What's the difference between therapy and counseling? Because I feel like counseling for me is a new term, so I'm just curious.
They're interchangeable.
Okay.
They're completely interchangeable. I don't think that one is any more protected than the other or means more than anything. It's tomato, tomato.
To me, it feels like.
Hallie?
What?
Sorry, Hallie, you were trying to get in there originally.
Yep, all the time. There's 18 points. You guys keep getting it, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna sit here in the queue.
You do really well, but I want to give you an opportunity to speak as well.
Thanks. I'm just gonna start interrupting you, bitches.
Yeah.
So first thing, I definitely agree. Chanel is just on point today. I feel like she just is our.
Chanel is a keyboard warrior.
Yes.
We might have to have you on the show, Chanel.
Chanel, you're coming up. You have a really good profile picture. It works for me. But
Hashtag lesbian.
But she did have a good point that you have to find the right one. She said she had to go through 6 before she found the person that she connected with. I know I went through quite a few in different points of my life.
Yeah.
And you just go there and you don't feel it and you don't click and you have to make sure that you feel comfortable possibly divulging all of your dirty, nasty laundry to somebody, and that you feel good in their space, in their energy, with their questions, with their how they want to actually have it happen. So many people are like, I've been going to therapy for 8 years. I'm like, why the hell? You need some tools and you need to go.
Yeah.
That's what works for me.
Finn?
What? Oh, I was going to say that. I was going to say that it's really important that your therapist works for you.
Yeah.
Your therapist is an employee of yours to help your family, kind of like a doctor is. You don't always have to keep your doctor if you don't agree with them. You don't have to keep your therapist either. You can go ahead and go see someone else. I've had some doozies in my life who have said things that were completely not applicable to me. They didn't get me. They didn't understand me. They weren't going to be able to work with me.
Yeah.
But if they all say the same thing, maybe it is you.
Right. No, they don't all say the same thing. No. No, I once had a therapist tell me that while she was okay with me being married to a woman, her husband required her to vote Republican. So I said to her, well, that's fine. I require myself to leave your office. Because she doesn't need to tell. If she needs to disclose to me how she votes, she doesn't have good enough boundaries to be my therapist.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
100%.
No kidding, right? Like,
I think sometimes
Let's all have a moment for her.
I don't care how she votes. If she thinks she has to tell me that, she doesn't have good enough boundaries for me. So
I had a therapist tell me that she doesn't understand why I couldn't just go to a bar, get really drunk, and just get knocked up by some random stranger in order to get pregnant. Why I had to, like, through heterosexual sex, like, yeah.
because there was not enough alcohol in
All I
the
want to do is make love to you.
Yeah, great therapy advice.
Yeah. Great, yeah. And you'll pay for the removal of the genital warts, because that's unprotected sex with the
Right.
Just
Yeah, no thanks.
yeah.
You have a baby and AIDS. Congratulations.
Yes.
JK.
Winner.
Redirect.
Chicken dinner. No, I definitely, for me, it came down to different points in my life of talking to somebody who didn't have an iron in the fire, so to speak. So, you know, you talk to your family, your friends, of course they're on your side. And you also maybe don't want to divulge the nitty-gritty of what's been going on, especially inside your relationship to your family and friends. And, you know, there's been different points in my life. I've never attended therapy on a regular basis. Maybe I should have.
That explains a lot.
Huge sign.
But I have gone at different points in my life, and one of the counselors that I went to was back in the day. I've been sober from alcohol, hashtag sober from alcohol, for 16 years. Yay! Thank you. I know most people think I'm still drunk, but it's not true.
I'm not.
Yeah. But you know, that helped me get over that initial hurdle going to, and they're actually offered a lot of times for free through, in Canada, I don't know if it's the same in the United States, through ADAC, they'll offer free counseling services, as well as I took some self-esteem courses with them. And just, you're right, you got to go in with the right attitude and knowing that I want to change myself and really examine myself. And I learned that I had a really passive-aggressive you know, take on things and take on life and way of handling things. And so that was I hope my girlfriend's not watching, because she's going to win every fight from now on. But,
ADAC is Alberta, isn't it?
Is it Alberta? So
what
kind of resources would there be nationally, Heidi?
Okay, so in Canada, you can contact your local health authority. We'll be able to connect you with local resources. So if you have a public health office or dial 811 in Canada, that links you to a nurse that can help you kind of navigate that kind of stuff. Or Canadian Mental Health Association can connect you with specifically mental health resources, but can also probably direct you to where those other sources are. There's churches, and there are LGBTQIPA friendly churches out there.
Yes.
I have a website for that. Can I get?
Okay.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
www.gaychurch.org. Type in where you live. They will tell you where all the churches are that love and accept you for who you are. And if you can't afford a therapist, a lot of times clergy at those churches are great to talk to, even if you do not identify with their religion.
Exactly.
Is that only for the U.S. though?
Yeah, that's for the U.S. I think it may be for Canada too, but I know it's for the U.S. for sure.
Yeah.
In the U.S.
Also, talk to other people in your community. Talk to your local Pride centers. They can get you connected
Pride
with
centers
those.
are good.
Q centers.
Go to your local. Type
internationally?
in your city's name and Pride. on Facebook, and you'll be connected to the gay community within your community.
You can also Google the Trevor Project. That's a good one. And I know I live in the smallest state. I live in Rhode Island. I'm willing to divulge that. Rhode Island's a tiny state, and we have something called Thunder Mist Health Centers, and they're willing to do sliding scale counseling and therapy for anybody, but they specifically, for our trans friends, have a trans-specific sliding scale health and mental health service. Wow. It's fantastic. So plug to Thunder Mist. Yay, guys, for pioneering that. It's a brand new thing. They're really good. And, you know, obviously you get better quality care when you can pay for it everywhere, but we're working on changing that, so it's a good thing. Sure. It's a good thing.
You know, sometimes you just need someone to tell you that you're not crazy.
Yeah. Or that you are.
Yeah, or that you are. At the risk of divulging too much personal information, but I don't care, because if it helps even one person out there, then that's what I'm all about. But, you know, in my days when I used to be a drinker, I used to also be a cutter, and I felt a lot of shame about that for years and years afterwards when you look at the scars on your body and you think about what you were capable of doing to yourself. And I lived with that guilt, and it was really such a heavy burden on me. And I went to a counselor just for one session and had a stranger look me in the face and say, "You're not alone. There's a billion trillion people out there. You're not crazy. You're not insane. And you know, you're better now. You're on the road to recovery, and you don't do that anymore, and you need to cut yourself some slack." And that was the day that I let that guilt go for everything that I had done to myself in the past. And so, you know, you can be involved in long-term therapy, or sometimes you just need that 1 or 2 sessions to help you realize that you're not a crazy person, because we put so much pressure on ourselves and so many burdens on ourselves, especially for past actions, that telling a stranger that you're never going to see again and doesn't have anything to do with your life, you know, can really release those demons.
Carol, when I was a kid and before I came out, I had similar issues, and the therapist told me, you know, some of us wear that pain on the inside, some of us wear it on the outside. For sure. She goes, "Thank you for showing me how you feel," and we got over it after that. You know.
Yeah.
Good thing.
100%.
That's beautiful. Shout out to whoever that therapist was too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I will not divulge her name, but she was fantastic. She helped me with my coming out process, and it was a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
There are some terrible counselors out there.
Yes.
And you might go to like 4 terrible counselors in a row.
Yeah.
There are some amazing counselors out there.
I agree.
So if you can get in front of somebody and you feel connected with them, it doesn't matter what type of therapy they do. There is repeated tests and research out there about what type of therapy is the best. And what they've all found out is that the type of therapy does not matter. It's the relationship with the therapist. So that's what you're going to want to look for when you're looking for a good counselor.
And we're totally...
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Heidi. I apologize.
No, it's can you have a good, trusting relationship with?
For sure.
So you're saying don't pick my drunk friends.
Sometimes drunk friends all you need, but
we're going to have some counseling horror stories in our next segment, as well as some funny things. But you know, I agree. It's about finding the counselor that's good for you. Here's a big question that I've had, Heidi, and maybe you can shed some light on it, is for couples therapy. I'm a pretty charismatic girl, and I think that I could win over any therapist when we're talking about couples therapy.
That's called being manipulative.
Yeah. Thank you, I accept. And so basically, I'm wondering, you know, one of the questions that I've heard is, should you go to couples counseling together? Should you be seeing the same counselor, or would it be more beneficial to see separate counselors and then come together?
There is kind of research showing benefits from both. I personally, if I'm going to work with a couple, I'm going to really, really want to work with both people. Work with them individually, and then come together, work with them as a couple. Now, if you're a good counselor, you can do this effectively and help each individual person grow and problem solve and all that kind of, all those great therapeutic things, and then come together and have an understanding of what's going on with the other person. But if you're with spouse A and spouse B is seeing some other counselor, I don't want to guess what the other counselor is working on, because all I get is what's reported back to me by that person who has a vested interest in sounding
My
like
counselor says it's not my fault.
Exactly, right? And that's a terrible place to be.
Something that can work well. Something that can work well in certain situations is if you have two counselors in the same practice that can collaborate with your permission.
Yes.
And then they both come in to the couples counseling session, so no one feels ganged up on. Everybody has someone in their corner.
Yeah.
That works super well if your insurance will cover it. If you can both find someone in a practice that you can collaborate well, that works kind of well. Having you each have your own therapist and you come together for couples counseling with both therapists.
But that being said, though, a good counselor can work with both people individually and come to work together as a couple. So
that's what I had.
If that's not available, a good counselor can do that.
What did you have, Hallie?
I had one counselor. We had a rough patch in our marriage, and we had one counselor, and she was awesome. She called me on my shit. She called her on her shit, and she was like, "Why the fuck are you doing this?" And I was like, "Well, I don't have a reason." So I went and saw her by myself to work through my shit. She saw her by herself to do whatever they did. That's their business. And then we did come together. About 8 months later, we went back to her for divorce counseling because we wanted to.
She worked really well.
She worked really well.
Do you get your money back?
Really
Does it work out now?
She was really good. We weren't. It was different.
Well, and maybe she was just really good at letting you guys realize you weren't meant to be a long-term couple, because sometimes that happens. You're not. You can't fix every relationship. You can't fix everything.
Honestly, a year later, but we ended up going back to her, and she helped us through the divorce process because we wanted to make sure we didn't fuck up our kid because our daughter was 4 at the time, and that's a real weird age. And so she really helped us. She was also a kids counselor, so she saw our daughter as well. So it was a one-stop shop for this woman who never officially came out to me, but I found out through the people she is gay. So I was like, yes.
We think everyone's gay. Kinsey scale, baby.
Heidi, I have a question. So if you're seeing a counselor, do they sort of give you like a benchmark generally, like of when you should be seeing a patient for how long?
Depends who you work for. So some health authorities are like, well, things should be resolved in 6 sessions or less. Lots of times, kind of public health funded things in Canada, they like to see things wrapped up in 6 to 10 sessions.
That's the number of our insurance covers in the United States. 6 sessions, and you got to ask for more after that.
Yeah, correct. That being said, you can see a counselor for any number of issues over the course of a long time. I am not really a proponent of somebody being in continual therapy forever and ever as long as they live, kind of thing.
Well, then you're dealing with like codependency then, right?
Well, there's risk of that. I think
codependency of them liking your check every week.
Sucker
keeps coming back. How would you take
I suppose
I don't want to kill anyone's financial line to feed their children, but I just was curious.
But transference and stuff like that, I mean, is more of an issue the longer you see someone, right? I mean, for the therapist too. I mean, transference is when you get a little too enmeshed with your clients, they get a little too enmeshed with you, and I think boundaries are harder to keep the longer you spend an hour every week talking to somebody.
Yeah, your therapist is not a friend, and if you start thinking, if that starts to become kind of the relationship where then there's boundary stuff going on, and there's not going to be 100% like therapeutic lens in that, because they're going to start being this, they can like you and you can like your therapist, that's very beneficial, but if it's to the point where
if you're trying to bed them, I think that you've gone too far.
yes, or vice versa.
Yeah.
No, I was actually thinking about it from like a coming out perspective, because the way that society speaks to our demographic is that they say you shouldn't be gay, you should go to therapy. So a large part of our population is sort of forced in some sort of traditional therapy, and I don't know if I think there's like a lot of like irreversible damage that happens when they're in it prolonged for a long period of time, and then they get sort of like an attitude about doing it as adults, sometimes when they're kind of kids and teenagers. And so I was just curious as to what the appropriate amount of time is, obviously with the appropriate amount of agenda, and sort of just
as long as you have specific goals that you are working on or working towards, then therapy is going to be useful. If you're just going because I like talking to you, and you have good coffee, and it's easy to get to your office. And, like, then
expensive coffee.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my daughter
go
always.
out for coffee with your friends instead. That's definitely, you use your friends to go out for coffee.
I got fired by my therapist for that reason, because we got to a point where I was like, well, shit's good. I don't want to hang out. Like, I really did. But
My daughter
was like, everything's good, and she's like, check back with me when something goes bad. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
daughter
When? What you
to this-
saying, bitch? What do you mean, when?
I know. I was like, that's cool. It's cool.
I love it. Well, you know, we always tend to have a little bit of fun with any topic that we're talking about, but let's end our serious section on therapy, and let's make it a little bit more fun, because I know all of us have had those crazy therapy stories. So we've talked about what works. What doesn't work?
Yeah. If somebody's trying to cure your gay, you are not with a good therapist.
Okay, what didn't work for me, I know it's a valid point, and I had a... Okay, quick question, Heidi. What's the difference between... Who is it that can prescribe medication? Psychiatrist. Okay.
Psychiatric medication, like psychiatric doctors. That's a psychiatrist. So.
Psychiatrist.
Bobby can prescribe medication. I would have been in her back pocket a lot of ways.
If I'm giving you medication, we're meeting like at the back corner of the Costco parking lot. And
I've got my eye on you 16 years.
Sorry, Hallie, go on.
No, that was perfect. So I had a counselor who was trying to do, I think it was cognitive therapy, where I had to hold these little paddles in my hand that vibrated alternately.
EMDR.
Yes. Nope, didn't work for me.
Nope, not for me.
EMDR. It is a really, really effective
And
therapy.
it sounded awesome, and I just found myself sitting there with this noise going back and forth in my ear and this vibrating in my hands going,
Getting a little excited, Hallie?
What they're doing is they're tapping into both sides of your brain, and what they're starting to do, basically, break it down really quick. This is so simplified, so forgive me, all you EMDR therapists out there for oversimplifying this. They're trying to move a traumatic memory from your right side of your brain, which is where you're experiencing it viscerally, over to the left side where it's no longer traumatic, it's just a memory.
Interesting.
And it
Turns
is.
out I have no idea what the traumatic memory would have been, though.
Okay,
So,
or traumatic reaction, or something, an experience of something that is really visceral. Because it would also be really effective for lots of things related to eating disorders or cutting behaviors. Something that you're experiencing really right brainy, we want to push it over to the left brain so you know it's there, but you're not reacting with such power, I guess.
So
is the
they
best
move
way to
me
put it.
to the left. Am I better at math? That's what I'm curious about, because I'm very right-brained. So if I go to the left side...
You know what's funny is the whole right brain, left brain thing, newer research is showing that might not even be the case, the whole right brain, left brain stuff. Yeah. So.
Oh, I haven't seen that research. I was just in a conference. Okay. I was in a conference last week, and it was all about trauma and experience of trauma and how to encourage healing from trauma. And this is exactly what she was talking about, was right brain, left brain stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it probably, like anything else in life, it depends on who you're talking to. You know, there's doctors at risk of starting another argument here that I'm sure we'll talk about on another show. There's doctors who say don't vaccinate. There's doctors who say do vaccinate. Sid is making a face. But I mean, there's probably some people that believe in certain types of therapy, even as therapists, and others that believe in other kinds, I would think.
Yeah. And honestly, anything that I say is only my experience, and I cannot speak for counselors everywhere. I cannot even speak to counselors within the same community as me. I am only speaking to my personal experience and what I've come to understand and what's been shared with me. So, yeah.
Sin, for some reason, I feel like you have a funny counseling story.
I find myself thinking I have a lot of bitterness towards some counselors that I used to have. It's not really that funny, but I had one counselor who kept trying to hypnotize me, saying that was going to be helpful. I'm not really hypnotizable. I'm one of those people that it's really difficult for me to let go that much and trust that much to allow myself to get into that state. So she tried to convince me, you're very sleepy, you're walking down the stairs, and I'm thinking in my head, no, I'm just listening to you talk about it. And it was like, sure, it was a little bit relaxing to listen to the sound of her voice, but the whole hypnosis thing wasn't working for me. Like, I've gone to like, the R-rated, there's R-rated hypnotist shows, and I watch all my friends like quacking like a duck, but that's not me. It's funny. I'm like, how do you let that person control you? So I could not give my autonomy enough to this person because I was like, why do you want to hypnotize me? That's bullshit. So
what are you going to do to me while I'm out?
Exactly. I mean, and I think that, there's plenty of evil horror stories I have about therapy, being an LGBT person, but I think that it was just funny that she was trying to convince me session after session that this was going to work and she was going to get me very sleepy and relaxed down these stairs, and I was like, now I'm sitting in a chair in your office. And so I realized that mindfulness therapy works a little bit better for me because I'm here and I'm here now and I'm not on a staircase.
Yeah.
So, sure.
Yeah, mindfulness is actually one of it's been in the last kind of 10, 15 years as we really speak to research on the brain and the neuroplasticity, which it means like the brain's ability to heal itself and make new connections to help us react and think in new and different ways. Mindfulness has come along as much as that research in terms of really being useful in anxiety and depression and all sorts of just general mood disorder, in coping, in distress. It's really excellent for those of us who have a lot of trauma, getting us connected to what are we feeling, thinking, seeing right now in the moment, slowing down our thoughts through mindful meditation.
Yeah. Hallie, has anything ever happened to you in a therapy session that you want to talk about?
I mean, I kind of threw out mine earlier. Actually, Chanel, God love her.
We have to have that girl on the show.
Yeah,
I know.
She's
pretty much amazing. She's like our additional panelist. She said she had a therapist tell her that she needs to pick a sex, I think she meant gender or person, to like and just stick with it so she could be happy. Needless to say, she never went back. They personally refused to be labeled. They've been called a lesbian, a traitor to the community, bi, pan. According to Chanel, labels are overused, and I think that needs to be a huge topic on another show.
Agreed.
Oh, yeah.
Yay, yes, that needs to be a topic. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And, I've had plenty of people say, well, bisexual people just haven't chosen yet. I'm like, choose what? It's not a choice. They're attracted to a bunch of things. What's your problem?
Yeah.
I'm just being quiet.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the case, and I think some of it comes down to, like, again, a low self-esteem. If you need to put down somebody else for, their bisexuality or pansexuality. In my younger days as a hardcore butch dyke, I would never date. Yeah, I would. Yeah. I would have never dated a bisexual person because I wouldn't have, in the moment, I know I would have felt like, I didn't need the extra competition to keep them happy at home. But I think everybody I've dated in the last 10 years is bisexual.
What's that, Nicole? Oh wait, you're pansexual.
Pansexual. Well, I've got competition from everywhere. I need to be really on my game when it comes to Nicole.
That's an insecurity thing. It comes down to a security thing, right? How secure are you in your relationship? You can be with someone who's bisexual if they want to be in a monogamous relationship with you. It's okay. I mean, I don't identify that way, but I find lots of women attractive. I'm not cheating with them.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the difference if there was a man? I'm not.
I may a little bit in my head, but I won't do anything, physically. You
can look at the menu just as long as you eat at home. It's all good.
Exactly. But lesbian joke. Eat at home.
I just check chicks out with my wife. That's all.
No.
What was that, Steph?
I said I just check chicks out with my wife. But I will say, as a bisexual, and I've been pretty much predominantly with women in relationships, it is freaking frustrating when people want to continue to label you. And so by default, I will call myself a lesbian just to get out of the conversation. But it's like so crazy how obsessed we are as a society to label other people instead of just boring what we're doing. That's just that simple. Leave me alone, people. This is a public affirmation to stay the hell away from me.
Bisexual is a term that I used to help myself get comfortable with transitioning to the idea that I actually was gay. Because I grew up so fundamentally conservative religious that I had to go through this idea of, okay, so I'm not, maybe I was bi-curious. Like, okay, yeah, women kind of turn me on, but oh no, I could not actually imagine being with one. And to like bisexual to lesbian, pretty much the first time I ever had sex with a woman, I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm gay.
Oh,
winner.
So what that's supposed to feel like, right?
Game ovaries.
Yeah. But there's a whole Kinsey scale thing while we're on the topic. I mean, there's people that are at a 1 and there's people that are at a 6, but they're pretty rare. People that are purely purely straight, never even thought another person has
never had a fantasy, never watched porn.
Right. Never looked at a person of the same sex and thought, wow, they're kind of attractive, ever. That's a 1. And a 6 is someone who's completely attracted to the exact same sex all the time and doesn't think someone of the opposite gender is attractive at all. Yeah. Most of us are somewhere between 2 and 5. Yeah. Most people in the universe are somewhere between. I'm about a 5 because, Johnny Depp and Eddie Vedder are cute, but I don't want to sleep with them.
Yeah,
but they're cute.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
And I think that I'm the same way. I think that that's a real old school mentality that you have to hate on the opposite sex once you come out, and you can't be attracted to them at all. I have eyes. I can see the difference between an attractive man and an unattractive man. I'm always looking for a potential sperm donor. I mean,
you just sent us back 20 years.
Yeah. That's what I'm here for. But no, I mean, I think that luckily the generations that are coming up now, along with the gender fluidity, is also the sexual fluidity, and I am just thrilled that hopefully my daughter is going to be growing up in a world where nobody cares if you're bisexual, trisexual, quadruple whatever you're into, whatever floats you. Exactly, omnisexual. I've learned a lot of new stuff, and I want to thank the fans for that. But I think that that's where the world's going, and I personally am so grateful for it.
Oh, me too. The kids get it. The kids know where it's at. Yeah. They know it's good.
For sure. I couldn't agree more. Well, that was an amazing talk tonight. I want to thank Chanel, number one, for being part of the show tonight. We're definitely going to have to talk to you and have you on the show at some point. Hallie, where do people get a hold of us?
So, if you are watching this after the live showing, we really want you to comment in the YouTube feed below. That's the best way for us to have conversation. We will get back to you. We absolutely love talking to you. We have a Facebook page, The Qualk Show. We have a Twitter account, The Qualk Show. We make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. You will get notifications for all of our videos. If you have questions, comments, concerns, allegations, emotional outbursts, email us.
Don't call me with your allegations, anybody who knows me.
Email us at thequalkshow@gmail.com. Like, subscribe, share, love us.
Love it. Love it. And we're going to make sure you tune in next week. We're actually going to take our first stab at what's going on, what came out of North Carolina with all of the transgender bathroom issues and all of the ridiculousness that's going on there. And we're going to have a special guest by the name of Marnie Panas to the panel. She is a pioneer in transgender issues and education. She speaks publicly to universities, colleges on this topic. And we're going to discuss all of the things going on with the bathrooms and transgender issues. Marty's going to bring some things in. It's going to be our first time that we're really addressing that publicly. So make sure that you tune in for that. And she's
awesome.
She's awesome.
She's awesome. She's so awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be a really good time, and it'll be really educational, and we just want to remind everybody that this is a queer talk show. There's a bunch of us lesbos on the panel, but that's not what we're about. Bisexual, Stephanie, and
don't label me, Carol. Don't label me.
Right. Well, no, bi erasure is a thing. Say it. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, we're going to cover so many different things on this show, and we want to reach out to everybody. We are about inclusion and not segregation, and we are all one community and one society and one world. So, you know, if everybody wants to lift their glass for our annual cheers to the end of the show, may your problems be solvable and your kids part of the solution.
Ooh, I like that.
Ooh.
Nice.
See you next week, everybody. Thanks for joining us. And we'll see everybody next week for the talk on transgender. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.